This is one of those where everybody's going to think I'm the reincarnation of Freud because of what I say this dream is going to be about. And of course, not true at all. We don't get many of these dreams. There's not many dreams of a sexual nature. But basically, the premise of this dream, the start of it, is that the dreamer's ex wants her to be available to make cookies for him at the drop of a hat all the time. So if you can't figure out what that's about, I always remember my mentor, George Radigan, used to say the interpretation leaps off the page at you, and this is one of those it does, and you're like, oh, I wish it wasn't that. But it is. So let's have a look at the dream. My ex was like some weird drug lord. Well, let's key the dream up. So my ex was like some weird drug lord, and I'm trying to get the things working on the screen here. So he wants me to make cookies. Now, drug lord should have lit up there, but and you think I tested these things before the show. So make cookies, we know what that's about. You make cookies in an oven. When you're pregnant, the expression is having a bun in the oven. So making cookies here in this dream is about having sex or being available for sex. And I found out he wanted me to make cookies, and I found out it was so they could be dropped off as part of a big arrangement in a larger plan. So this is interesting. So it's saying, okay, this is something obviously that bothered you about this ex, the fact that he made you feel obliged to have sex. But the dream is saying there's a bigger purpose to this. So you dealing with this issue is important because it's going to help you with something else. And that's really good to know. And of course, that's true with almost anything. The things that really bug us in life, it's not like, oh my God, my life would be great if I didn't have this. I'd have no issues whatsoever, and I would be the best channel ever if I didn't have these other things that hold me back. It's the things that you need to deal with are part of what your life plan is. So you have to deal with them in order to grow. So I say that all the time, but just to remind. So they're part of a bigger plan. Like cookies were payment for someone else who was doing something else. He snapped at me when I didn't have cookies, and I snapped/joked back, who has cookies ready all the time? I'm not the type who just always has cookies ready to go. Okay, so that's you standing your ground. He lightened up. I remember seeing a bunch. Okay, so it continues on there. So it seems like a disconnect. This part of the dream then goes into, he lightened up. I remember seeing a bunch of small stones that were all different colors and ready to go. So we know what the first part is about. So the small stones represent karma in dreams. Quite often they represent karma. Small is good, the fact that they're karma. So this isn't a big thing. And that would mean that you've done stuff, you've done work on this issue already. They were all different colors. Purple stands out. So purple as a color represents spiritual leadership. It's the color of the crown chakra before enlightenment. So symbolizes that. So you've got that as one of your abilities. So then it's saying, okay, so you need to deal with these sexual issues in order to improve your spiritual leadership skill. And why? Of course, sexual identity is part of who you are. You can't just suppress one aspect of yourself. So you suppress that, you suppress everything. So you have to get to a point where you're not suppressing yourself sexually. And even if it's because other people trigger you the wrong way. So you've got to get to that point, and that's going to help you. But they were very color-wise. He was dealing them. So dealing them is another symbol for karma. You know, what fate has karma dealt you kind of thing. Dealing cards in a deck would be about karma as well. And I wondered why, since he's not the type to feel them anyway. I, however, can feel stone energy. I remember seeing inside a house through a big glass back door window. So this is another one of your abilities. You have a strong intuition. That's a connection with your higher self. And because you're seeing through a back door window, it means you had this connection right at the start of life, and you've got to deal with issues from back then in order to bring it back, make it stronger. There was a computer screen on a counter. So if anything on a counter is something you're responsible for. You know, it's like if I said, this you're accountable for is a pun, but even if I was to say this is what's on the table for you. So the dream is putting it on a table, but it's a higher table. So this is part of your higher purpose. So computer screen on a counter being used to watch shows. I thought about getting a big TV for it instead, and you should have. but wondered if it would be too big, so you didn't get it. So the big TV is saying, use clairvoyance. So there's something where you're able to get away with being logical, and that's what the computer screen represents. Computers are logical, we program them, they follow the logic code that we put into them. But you're to stop following logic, and you're to start using your intuition, your connection with your higher self, and your clairvoyant channeling ability, which is what the big TV screen represents. So the fact that it's big TV is good. You know, it's showing that this gift is very strong. But of course you don't get it, and that's a pity. You decide not to do it. I heard the baby crying in a car outside. You say the baby, just suddenly shows up here. She was in the back seat. My oldest daughter and I think my partner were in there, my ex that is, parked. I grabbed the baby to take her inside. Okay, so what is a baby? Baby crying in the back seat. So this is again the past, so we know from the back door it's about the past. But the baby crying is, you've got to deal with the baby. The baby represents your responsibility, as well as it being your you in your childhood. So it's your responsibility to deal with this. So quite often we think, okay, if this didn't happen to me, I'd be fine. You know, it's my parents' fault, or it's the upbringing I got, etc., etc. All excuses. You get to a sense of self, point of empowerment, and now is the time for you to take responsibility and do something about this yourself. And that's perfect. The ex was asleep in the parked car. You also say your oldest daughter was asleep there too. So again, it's time for you to wake up. And that's good in a dream. Waking up is good in a dream. Seeing that the baby was asleep, well, the baby's crying, but these other two people are asleep. These are showing you that the effects, the impacts of the partner, and indeed you're saying that the car was parked, so that's saying the relationship is going nowhere. So this is holding you back. Indeed, it is holding you back. So you need to do something to get out of that or improve it. And then you say they were sleeping, waiting for you. That's good. Waiting for you is good. I grabbed the baby to take her inside, and that's perfect. So that's a good end to the dream. And even though at the start of the dream you don't say that this is actually your house or anything like that. But so anyway, that's it. Dealt with now.